In this video, I'd like to show you how dimensional analysis works. Dimensional analysis is sometimes called the factor label method, but it's a way of solving problems where you're converting from one unit to another. You can do this for metric conversions. I'm going from meters to millimeters or kilometers, grams to kilograms, anything like that, certainly. But you can also use it for really any conversion. It's primarily going to be used for unit conversion to start with. Down the road, we're going to use it to solve problems, and you can do that as well, and I'll show you how that works when we get there. But we always start with unit conversions. It's kind of the easiest way, I think, to explain it. So let me go through and do a couple of problems for you, and let me give you a couple of things, a couple of ground rules here. I'm going to do some conversions based on, first of all, the fact that 1 foot is equal to 12 inches, and that there are 5,280 feet in 1 mile. Now, these are the two problems I want to show you. I'm going to do one in the black and then one in this other color here, just for comparison so you can see how the setup works. The first rule with the setup, and I always tell kids this over and over and over again, if you're going to convert, always start with what's given, because that's the minimum you got to start with. So you always start with, in this case, number 1, we're going to start with 6,253 inches. I'm going to do times and a line. Now, again, different teachers do this differently. Some do it like this. They do, it's like a train track. When we're done here, it looks like almost like a train track drawing. Some people will actually do this as though it was a fraction. So you could do this as well, 6,253 inches. And then they do times and a line. And then you need to recognize that a number and a number over 1 are the same thing. So this maybe helps you keep it in the numerator. This shows it another way. Then what you're going to do is the units that you want to cancel automatically go in the bottom of the next fraction. I need them there so the units cancel. One of the things that's unique here is we're focusing on the units canceling just as much as we do with the numbers. You're probably used to in math, if you have a 4 in the numerator and an 8 in the denominator, you'd simplify them. We're kind of doing the same thing, but we're doing them with the units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the inches on the bottom, and if I can go straight to my final units, I do so. But in this case, I don't have a conversion from inches to miles, but I do have a conversion from inches to feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to feet. And then you fill in the numbers. Is it 1 over 12 or 12 over 1? Well, as long as you've done your units first, fill in the numbers that make the units make sense. Is it 12 feet is 1 inch? Or is it 1 foot is 12 inches? And that helps you keep it straight if you think it through. So 1 foot is 12 inches. So I know that's a 1 over 12. Now, if all I wanted to do was convert to feet, I'm done. And so I stop. But I don't want to go to feet. I want to go to miles. So I'm going to do another fraction, and the feet will now go in the bottom of my next thing. And by the way, let me set this one up here as well. 12 inches, 1 foot. Okay, and then we're going to do another fraction where we're going to put feet in the bottom, and now I can convert feet into miles because I have that conversion. And you'll see that up here. That is at 5,280 miles in 1 foot. Or is it 5,280 feet in 1 mile? Obviously, you can see it makes sense that it's 1 over 5280. Okay, and so this would be 1 mile over 5,280. Now, notice what happens, guys. This is pretty straightforward math. My units, and look at your units. My inches here and inches here will cancel. Remember, when you are multiplying fractions, all the numerators come together and all the denominators come together. So my inches, feet, and miles are all up top. Inches and feet are in the bottom. Well, guess what my inches in the top and the inches in the bottom are going to do? They are going to cancel with one another. The feet here and the feet here will cancel. And so my final answer, as long as I've set everything up right, will be in miles. So now what you do is you get your calculator, and what I recommend you do is just kind of multiply all your numerators across and then divide it by all the denominators. So I have a little online calculator here, so let's do this together. We have 6, 2, 5, 3 times 1 times 1. So that's obviously 6,253. And now I'm going to divide that by 12. And I can hit enter and then divide that again by 5,280. And when I do that, I get this on my calculator. Now, what do I do with this? How do I round this and so forth? Well, a couple of things. You always use your significant digits. You always go by the original measurement. These things over here are conversions, and so they are not considered things you would round. Definitions and things of that nature, you don't go into rounding. Rounding is always based on just the original measurement. Remember, we're doing significant digits based on measurements, not all this other stuff. So let's take a look at this. I need 4 significant digits. These first 2 zeros are not significant, so it's going to be a 9, 8, 6, 9. Those will be my 4 significant digits. This 0 will not change that, so my answer will be 0. Darn, it went away. Let me bring that back up again. Okay, 0.09869. 0.9869 miles. So there you go. There's my answer. And if I did the same thing here, I'd get the same answer, obviously. It's just setting it up slightly differently. You'll see different teachers do it different ways. It doesn't really matter. But remember, don't forget your units and round based on the number of significant digits in the original measurement. Now, let me do the second one. And let me kind of go through this one. Same process. Watch what I do. I'm going to take 3.1 miles. And you know what? Let me do this one. I'll do this one doing the fractions just for something different to show you that is a different sort of thing. So I'm going to do times in a line. I'm going to put miles. I'll abbreviate that MI here. I don't have a conversion straight from miles to inches, so I'm going to go from miles to feet because I do have that conversion. And again, we've talked about this before. This is 5,280 feet per 1 mile. Then I do another times in line. I can go from feet to inches, and there are 12 inches in 1 foot. So now I do my math. Let me bring up that calculator again. And this time, let's clear that out. I'm going to do 3.1 times 5280 times 12. And I just have ones in the denominator, so I'm not going to worry about them. And I get 1964.16. Based on my original 3.1, I have 2 significant digits, so I'm going to round to the 9. So that's going to give me, basically the 6 is going to bump the 9 to a 0, which is going to bump the first place to a 2. So what I have here is, I'm going to write this up a little bit, it's going to be 200,000, but it should have 2 significant digits. So how do I write 200,000 where that 0 is significant but not the rest of it? You're going to have to put it in scientific notation. So that'll be 2.0 times 10 to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my units here are inches. So that's how you do that. Please notice just a couple things to be careful of. Every once in a while I have students try and fall into some sort of a trap where they're like, oh, the ones are always on top or the ones are always on the bottom, and that is not the case. You must follow your units, set them up so they cancel. Notice my miles cancel, my feet cancel, and what this means then is that my final answer will be in inches, and that's exactly what I have here. So as long as you set up your units correctly so they cancel out, and you fill in the numbers so that they are correct, the top and the bottom are equal, you're fine. And you can do this, if you think about it mathematically, you can multiply anything by 1. And so if you notice all the fractions that I'm multiplying here, the top and the bottom are equivalent. They are different units, but they're equivalent. So they're kind of, it's like multiplying by 1. If you go to the first one, 1 foot over 12 inches, well, they're the same value. 1 mile over 5280 feet, they are the same value. They're different units, but if you run 5,280 feet and run 1 mile, they're the same thing. So it's an equivalent, so you can do this. You're multiplying it by these fractions where the tops and the bottoms basically are the same, but they have different units, but you just set up those units so they cancel. So that is how dimensional analysis, or sometimes it's called factor label method, works. Pretty straightforward, and I hope that helps.